Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a small card game called Songbirds. In this little card game, the players are going to be having a hand of bird cards in different colors, different suits if you would, and they are going to be playing them out to a grid, a virtual grid on the table, hoping to have a one specific type of bird manipulate and control different rows and columns and score as high as possible, with a couple of small little clever twists. So let me show you how it works. It's a lot easier than trying to explain it to you here. We'll come on back after that and I'll tell you if I think the clever twists are enough to make this one rise above so many other filler card games out there. To set up the game, we're going to create a virtual 5x5 card grid out here with one of the cards randomly in the very center, and then we're going to divvy up the rest of the deck, in this case with 3 players, all right? And then you've also got here on the side a couple of scoring cards that represent the 4 suits to be found in the deck, all right? So this suit right here being this one. I do wish that they had put the index on these as well, because as you'll see in 1 second, the images do change across the suit. They're not the exact same image as this, for example, as you can see, but that's a minor nitpick, and I'm sure I'll talk about it later anyway. So, the idea of the game is to score, of course, the most points possible, and you are going to, on your turn, take a look at your hand of cards, and you are going to play one card out to the grid somewhere adjacent to a card already there. So since this starts in the center, I can play next to it here, which would fall in this column in this line. I could play here, above it, or below it there. All right? So let's say I do that, and I'm going to put that card right there. And then it would be the next player's go, where they'll take a look at their hand, they'll do the same thing, so they might play this card here. Again, just adjacent to something that's already there. And this continues around the table with players playing cards anywhere they choose, as long as they follow those simple rules, until the game is over, which happens when this grid is completely filled in. And at that point, everyone's going to have a single card left in their hand. Before you reveal that one card you've got left in your hand, you are going to assign these point values around the outside to the suit, to the birds that win that row or that column. And you would add up the values. So for example, assuming this is filled, let's ignore the other cards for now. You've got 3 total in this suit, 4 total in the bluish suit there. And so the 12 victory points here go to the blue little birds right there. If there is a tie, by the way, they cancel each other out and you check for the next suit and they would win it. If it's a complete wash, everything ties, you just don't assign that victory point token. And then everybody reveals the card they've got left at the end of the game, and your victory points are going to be the number of victory points sitting on that suit. So let's say the Bluebirds ended up taking this 12 and that 12, plus the number on the card you kept. 4 suits, numbers 1 through 7 in these. And so this being the final score, I have 24 here, plus 6, I have a 30-point score. Everybody compares their scores. Whoever has the highest score is the winner of the game. That's all there is to it. Very simple, very straightforward. There are a couple of variants included in the box that you can play with, and they utilize these negative tokens as well as a couple of new cards. So one thing you can do is you can add the owl in, and they explain to you how it works over here on this solitary card. This gets shuffled into the deck, and then you'll randomly remove one card from the deck. Anyone who has this in their hand may play it somewhere where there already is a bird, and then they will immediately reposition this one that they just picked up elsewhere. This is nothing. It's an empty space, if you want to think of it that way. Though it is occupied, it still counts as being filled in the grid, but it allows you to pull some sneaky moves like that. And then the other card included is this crow. The crow card is going to be placed in the very center of the grid at the beginning of the game, like this. Let's remove our owl for now. And then at the end of the game, you are going to give some negative points to some birds around the grid. And so, for example, let's bring our 12 back over here, and let's throw out some new... this is not the center of the grid. Haha. some new cards out here, like so. Let's move these over here. There we go. That'll work out for my example. And so at the end of the game, you are going to check what's above the crow, and whichever one is winning there is going to get that many negative points. And so in this case, it's that suit there. You would give them -2. And you do the same thing for the other side. It's -3 for green over here. So you'd find your -3 and assign it to green. Same thing for this side, -4 going to this one, and down here, -5 going to the blue ones. And you have to take that score into account at the end of the game. Now, this is a variant you use for 4 players and 4 players only. And you can also use the other side of this card, which assigns a -4 to these 2 cards and these 2 cards combined. In this case, green would take it with a total of 8 to blue's 5. So -4 would go to green, and then the same thing for these 2 and these 2. So it kind of takes this corner and adds these and these. Everything in here would be inconsequential, all right? And so you assign 4 negative points to those. And that's everything you're going to get in the game. There's also solitaire rule way to play, but it's sort of, inconsequential. There's not much to it. One of those, play by yourself and then see how well you did sort of variants. And you can even play, quote-unquote, cooperatively, which is basically solitaire, but you're there with someone else and you do the same thing. You score and try to get as high a score as possible. That should be enough for you to understand how this all plays out. So let's go back up top and let me tell you what I thought of it. All right, so there it is, Songbirds. Let's talk about it. I'm going to start off with thematic ties, the idea of these playing birds out onto a grid, basically a grid in general. I'm not championing a game's thematic involvement and strong ties when there is a grid involved. Almost always, right? The idea of it being birds, and I guess they're controlling perches or branch or whatever you want. I mean, it is in the introduction to the rule book. That's fine. It's fine. But I also wouldn't say, oh my goodness, yes, if you want to play a game about birds that really feels like you're playing a game about birds, Songbirds is it. It's fine. And I think the theme, while it could have been anything, is a nice enough theme. The aesthetics, on the other hand, I think are great. The game looks very attractive. It's very clean. It's very crisp looking. It's bright. I definitely like the look. And every time I've played it, there's always comments about, wow, I really like the look of this, or I know someone who's really going to like the look of this. That's great, and I like hearing that sort of feedback. The replayability here is clever, and for a small card game, this is one where the depth is going to grow on you. The first time most people play, once they're done, they go, huh, yeah, and you can kind of see the gears turning in their heads a little bit as to how to manipulate this big game of chicken, right? Like, what cards do you hold back and how long do you hold them back to see how the board develops and keeping a card that you know is going to, strike gold. So that's cool, and I like the implications that it brings to the table, And whatever you are keeping, of course, is also something you did not play to the board, which means you are not helping your color win, right? Quote unquote, helping. So replayability, I think, is very nice. Game length is excellent. Very quick game with a little bit of downtime because the more you play, especially, there's going to be a little brain burning going on, which is nice to say about a game that's this small, But it's not a game that outstays its welcome by any stretch of the imagination. So great on the game length. Ease of play is very, very high. I love teaching this game because I always end up finishing my rules explanation before I'm kind of ready to be done because the rules are so straightforward, I'll start explaining, okay, you have to play next to another bird, and then at the end of the game, the birds are going to control the victory points, whichever column they win. You kept one, and that's it. You score after that. That's all the rules, and I like that. So the ease of play is very high. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck and things like that. Every card you're going to have at the very beginning of the game. There is no drawing of new cards. I like that. I think that adds to the tactics that you are presented with from the very beginning of the game. And I like the way that the whole thing sort of plays out. Another thing that's very clever in the game is this idea of two kinds of birds matching, tying, and eliminating each other, and it going to the third kind. That, once you're good at this game, is a powerful tool that you can use to your advantage to have an underdog, which is weird to talk about in the Underbird, have an Underbird rise to the top and steal from two other powerful colors. That's pretty cool. And if you have the right card, you can make that happen possibly. So that's neat. The concepts here at play are very cool. Now, having said all of that, let me talk a little bit about the solitaire variant. I found it to be largely uninspiring. It's one of those where they say, technically you can play sort of alone because there's not a lot of interaction. So you know what? Play alone and then write down your score, and we'll tell you on this little chart how much you suck at this game, and then do it again and write down that score and see if you're getting quote unquote better or worse. Don't like those solitaire variants. I think they're kind of lame. So it's in there, but I wouldn't necessarily say, yeah, go get this if you like playing solitaire games. And then playing the co-op mode is also, it's more of the same. It's the same thing. The playing with 4 players and playing with that card in the center with a crow, that's cool. That's a clever idea. And then the owl is a very small change, but I also like that. That's a cool concept. So overall, yeah, I like this little card game. It's not something that is mind-blowing. It's not revolutionary. There are other games I've played that do these things. Hold a card back to help you score, but you're not using it on the table, right? Or play it and make that bird stronger, or whatever that thing is, stronger, but then you don't have it in your hand. Okay, this has been done. But this one does it in an extremely clean way, in an extremely straightforward way, and it is a pleasure to play and teach. So this one's going to get a seal of approval from me. I would certainly recommend you check it out if you are looking for a nice, fresh, attractive little filler card game that is going to grow on you, and the depth is going to grow, and the more you play and the more you become familiar with it. So there you go. That is Songbirds. Check this one out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.